If you're watching this on YouTube, yes, I decided to wear my Jaluka t-shirt. It's one of the covers of um, Jaluka's Greatest Hits album, and it's a caricature of Johnny Clegg and Sipho Kuno. And I thought, under the circumstances, I think it's a good idea. And just as maybe a suggestion of mine is, as a white person, let's try and think, what would Johnny Clegg do? If you, as a white person living in South Africa, and maybe you need to channel someone, channel a white person on how to behave correctly and how to be a good person, a constructive, positive contribution to society. Yeah, what would Johnny Clegg do? I just thought, you know what? I just thought of this now. I was wearing another shirt beforehand. I was wearing a mustard shirt, and then I got water on it. I thought, no, I can't appear with water splashed all over my shirt. Let me put on another shirt. And then I saw this Jaluka t-shirt. I haven't worn it for a while. The whole Gareth Cliff story, it's a big story. Originally, I wasn't going to comment on it that much because I thought to myself, everyone else has given interesting analysis and views and opinions. But then I saw a video of Solly Moeng being interviewed on Newsroom Africa. That's one of the DSTV news channels that I hardly ever see. But somebody sent it to me, and Solly Moeng got me thinking. And then I thought of my own angle of looking at this whole thing. But just in case you're not aware of the story, let me briefly go over it, just in case you're not fully aware. So I watched Gareth's, feature, The Burning Platform, sponsored by Nando's. It was on Thursday, and I actually watched it on Thursday, and I must say it's the first time I ever watched a full episode of The Burning Platform. And why did I watch it? Because I saw that he was interviewing John Steenhuisen of the Democratic Alliance, and I'd never seen a full interview of John Steenhuisen. I'd only seen little clips of John Steenhuisen, and in terms of entertainment and material for this podcast, John Steenhuisen always delivers. He's almost as good as Helen Azilla. So I thought, let me watch the whole interview. And it didn't disappoint, but I was focusing more on John Steenhuisen, and I gave my opinion. I think I can't remember exactly, but I think I tackled John Steenhuisen's description and justification for him supporting the whole poster spiel in Phoenix, Durban. And then I think I spoke about service delivery, and these elections are all about service delivery. But what I did miss, and I only thought about it afterwards, and I actually tweeted about it, is that, yes, these municipal elections are all about service delivery, but a huge majority, maybe most voters, consciously or subconsciously, you may very well think to yourself, it's all about service delivery. But at the end of the day, most of you are not voting. You're voting for who you like the most. It's a popularity contest. You're going to vote for whoever you agree with the most politically, socially, personality-wise. You may not like John Steenhuisen's personality, and you might not vote for him. Maybe you've got no problem really about his politics, but maybe he doesn't come across as charismatic, perhaps. That's just an example. So, yes, when Gareth Cliff and other people say, and John Steenhuisen says, this election is all about service delivery, it's all about service delivery, that's all it's about. Theoretically, technically, yes, but no. At the end of the day, it's what's happening in reality. In reality, people are going to vote for who they like. It's a popularity contest. I'm like against the grain. I'm a bit of an exception, because the area councillor, the councillor of my ward where I live, what's his name, Dave Fisher, He's an independent. I like Dave. Well, I mean, I don't know Dave. I've never met him, but he seems like he's committed. He's on our WhatsApp group. He gets things done, as the DA says. So I'll just vote for Dave. Because it's actually not really it's a political thing indirectly. At the end of the day, it is a political thing. But if you happen to know your councillor and he may be a member of a party or that you don't really support, but you know this guy does a good job, maybe you'll vote for him or her. Okay, so on the surface, what most astute, credible commentators have said, like I watched the video from Konrad Koch, aka Chester Mitzing. He gave a very good analysis and a strong opinion, and he made sense. And I couldn't disagree with him on the surface, superficially. And people like Eusebius Makeza and Max Duprea would like a tweet that said the same thing. Just on the surface, it didn't look good. Gareth Cliff did come across as racist. But the thing is, you got to dig a bit deeper than that. And what Solly Moeng, the gist of Solly Moeng's interview, if you try and watch it, Solly Moeng says at the beginning that he knows Gareth Cliff. He's dealt with Gareth Cliff on numerous occasions, personally, face-to-face, etc. He knows Gareth Cliff, and he says Gareth Cliff is not a racist. And then Solly Moeng touched on Gareth's lack of empathy. And Solly Moeng just briefly touched on this lack of empathy. But here it is. Let me just qualify. Let me come straight out in case you didn't know. I also know Gareth. I worked with Gareth Cliff for 10 years. So I also know him reasonably well. You know, I know him better than most people know him. And yes, that is a big thing. That is quite a strong aspect of Gareth's makeup, his personality. He lacks empathy. And it's quite weird or strange. It's alien to most of us because very few people have this lack of empathy, or they hide it. You don't. But when you get to know, I suppose I got to know Gareth, so you picked up on it. So he's got this general lack of empathy. And as Gareth has said himself, he's an equal opportunity offender. So Gareth will lack empathy whether you're black, white, pink, purple, Indian colored, whatever. So unfortunately, they got into this discussion where the one speaker was talking about trying to relay her experiences as a black woman, how she has experienced racism. She experiences racism every day of her life. And what Gareth, I think, was meaning to say, listen here, it's not about your experiences of racism. This election is about service delivery. But it didn't come out this way. Because of Gareth's lack of sensitivity, lack of empathy, he said something along the lines of, nobody cares about your personal experience. Nobody cares. It's anecdotal. Nobody cares. So it didn't come across very well. And then now he's been labeled racist and white supremacist, and you come from a privileged background, you don't understand this, you don't understand that. But as Solly Moeng pointed out, it's more it was an empathy issue, and it was a perception. What Solly Moeng concentrated on mostly, he tackled Nando's. So Nando's have had this marketing strategy of being irreverent, politically, quite controversial, etc., etc. So it's like they just dropped Gareth when there was a moment where they could actually live their marketing strategy. In other words, they showed their true cards. They basically admitted, it's just a marketing strategy. It's not their true DNA. And that's a pity. This was an opportunity for them to spin it around. They could have, look, I'm not an advertising expert, but something along the lines of, Nando's, we give you the left wing and the right wing in our chickens. Hey, something, and then embroider on that and make that a bigger thing. Gareth Cliff got too hot to handle, but from now on he's going to try lemon and herb. Obviously something better and more creative than that, but you get the idea. But here is the thing, and this is what I want to get to. Nando's kind of, where they've slipped up as well, is that they knew who they were dealing with, or they should have known what they were dealing with. They've been sponsoring Gareth Cliff for 5 years. Gareth Cliff there's been many, many examples where he has said maybe things that you would not like, things that I haven't liked. I don't think Nando's has been concentrating, quite frankly. Gareth is a climate change denialist. I was on a show with him. He doesn't believe in climate change. The concept of white privilege doesn't exist. There's no such thing as white privilege, according to Gareth. Gareth's handling of COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, he said it's just the flu. He says masks are not necessary. This washing of hands is ridiculous. Get the vaccine, but it's your choice. It's up to you. It's a personal thing whether you want to get the vaccine. And I'm just touching on small little things because I'm not a regular listener to Gareth's show. He's compared COVID-19 to malaria. He said, why don't they handle malaria the way they handle COVID-19, which is, malaria is a completely different disease. It spreads. I'm not going to go into an epidemiology lecture, but it's absurd. He's compared COVID-19 to tuberculosis. Again, another absurd comparison. Tuberculosis, again, is a completely different other disease. He's compared COVID-19 to HIV/AIDS. Also saying, why don't we do the same thing with HIV/AIDS? Just absurd. And he's done that with those diseases on separate occasions over the last 18, 20 months. So was Nando's not aware of this? Has Gareth not put forward these ideas on the Burning platform? Has this not come out on the Burning platform before? Maybe not, because I haven't watched it that often. But, you've been sponsoring him for all these 5 years. You knew what you were dealing with. And you may not like what he says, but, Gareth is being authentic. He's telling you what he believes. And Nando's has got this image that they're supporting freedom of speech, and they've done it for the last 5 years. Suddenly it becomes a big news story. This was an opportunity, I think, as Solly Moeng pointed out, to spin it around, do some spin. This was an amazing opportunity to do some spin, in my mind, and that's the way I see it. So on the surface, Gareth Cliff racist, but it's unfortunately perception. Unfortunately, perception is everything, and it's a concept that people won't really understand. Most of us will not understand this concept of just lack of empathy, lack of sensitivity. I've been on a show with Gareth about maybe 2 years ago where he literally said that the Nazis, Hitler, were something along the lines of, they were actually, deep down inside, they were good people. They thought they were just doing the right thing for Germany and the world. Murdering 6 million Jews and 4 million other people. Romas, homosexuals, Sintis, you name it. Political enemies. That's what he said. And now Nando's only wakes up now. Maybe this is a lesson. If you're going to sponsor somebody, maybe concentrate and see what they're doing. And here's another way of looking at the situation. So when I first watched the Burning platform on Thursday, and I saw Gareth saying to this black woman, "I don't care. Nobody cares about your personal experiences of racism. And he quoted the Institute of Race Relations. The Institute of Race Relations has released many studies that have said that racism is not an issue. The Institute of Race Relations is a well-known right-wing lobby group. They racists themselves. This is a lobby group. This is a group that supported Steve Hofmeyr when Steve Hofmeyr said that black people created apartheid. So to quote the Institute of Race Relations, oy vey. So anyway, when I initially saw Gareth saying this, the first thing that crossed my mind was, oi, Gareth. Oi, I'm glad somebody else has to deal with this, some other producer or manager. I don't know. But I've seen examples and been there on Gareth's show, experiencing almost exactly the same kind of rhetoric, insensitivity, etc., etc. So it kind of like washed over me. I just forgot about it straight away because it's to be expected. And interrupting. One of the big things that came up in the argument is that Gareth Cliff was speaking over this black woman. Okay, sorry to tell you this, but Gareth has spoken over me many times. One of the main reasons why I don't want to be on his show anymore, I wasn't enjoying it anymore, because he wasn't allowing me to talk. And I'm a white man. Gareth did not let me talk. So Gareth did not speak over this woman because she was a black woman and he was being racist. He does this to everybody. He's done it to me. You can't get a word in. My one brother in Canada who knows nothing about radio, he heard the one interview one show that Gareth and I had, and then he said to me, Gareth doesn't let you talk. So, now this takes me to another thing to look at. Now, how can I contextualize this? Have you ever had a family member that you love and you know very well, and you know their character, you know what they're all about, and you know their attributes? You know whether they're a good person, a grumpy person, you know whether they're racist or not, so you know them very well. And you could have it could be another relative, a cousin, your parents, a close friend. Could be somebody that you work with every day that you know very, very well. They could say something quite derogatory and not so great. You will perceive it very differently to if you heard it from them, if you didn't know them at all, if they were a complete stranger. Think about it. You got it? It's all about context, who it's coming from, and whether you know that person or not, and you know their real character. That's very, very crucial in this whole thing. So let's just go into a little radio analysis. I'll try and make it quick. I can guarantee you 99.999%, maybe 100% of the people who complained about Gareth's interview on Thursday are not listeners to Gareth's podcast. They've heard of Gareth Cliff. They are not regular listeners of Gareth's show. They do not know Gareth at all. Radio broadcasting it's a relationship with the listener. People have a relationship with Gareth. So if Gareth steps out of line and says something wrong, people might get upset. Oh, but I love Gareth. I know him. Last week he said something really good. But 10 minutes beforehand he said something really funny, etc. You get it? And that's a huge, huge factor that these commentators like Conrad Koch and Eusebius Makeza and Max Duber, they don't take into account. Because these people, they don't have this, they don't understand, they're not radio people. They don't. Eusebius Makeza, yes, he's been on radio, but he's never grown an audience on a breakfast show or an afternoon drive. Until you've grown an audience on a breakfast show or an afternoon drive, there's a lot you don't know about broadcasting and radio, with all due respect. Okay, there I said it. So that's a big, big factor, and you gotta understand that. So when I saw this thing on Thursday, when Gareth to me just brushed off this woman's experiences of racism, yeah, I thought, oh my God, Gareth, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you said that. But it wasn't a case of, I hate Gareth Cliff, he's a racist. I thought to myself, Jesus, Gareth, how can you say, oh, please, Gareth, here we go again. And the thing is, you know, it's wrong of me, I suppose. It's unfair of me to really criticize and judge the people who don't know Gareth, who have said he's a racist, because I can't expect them to know all the things that I've explained. You can't. Nobody knows. Only people who've been very close to Gareth will know what I've just explained, I suppose. But I thought I should just get it out there and explain. Don't get me wrong. I've got huge problems with Gareth. Not personally. It's just I wasn't enjoying being on his show for all these reasons, and that's why I started my own show, because I just enjoy doing this myself every day. I wasn't when I did Gareth's show. I found that I wasn't enjoying it because I was getting interrupted. There were a lot of right-wing things that came in, which I've mentioned: the climate change, the COVID. Gareth said that Donald Trump was a good president. Now, to me, that's like, oh my God, like that's like one of the worst things to ever say in my mind. Did Nando's not know this? Yeah. So I suppose, look, I've given you a bigger picture and a bit of insight into my analysis of the whole situation. And I can't I'm not going to get too personal and go into details. But one of the things that Gareth has mentioned recently, and this can give you another example. He's not the kind of guy that's going to change and evolve that much. Gareth had this thing where he would criticize religious people and criticize religion in general. And I begged and pleaded with him from 16 years ago, from 2005. Gareth, South Africa's a very religious country. South Africans believe in God. It's very important to them. Even the people who are not religious, they believe in God. So when you poo-hoo them and make fun of them and mock them, you're belittling them, you're looking down at them, and you're insulting them, and you're alienating people. 16 years later, Gareth has got this revelation. Wow, I've developed and I've matured as a person, as a broadcaster. And I no longer do that anymore. I was immature. I realized that was wrong. He thinks that's an amazing transformation. Gareth, it took you 16 years. It should have taken you 20 minutes, 10 minutes to realize it was stupid and short-sighted. It took him 16 years to realize that not such a clever thing to do. So that's what you're dealing with. He's an artist. He's an artist. You deal with artists. Artists are weird people. I'm strange to a degree. Gareth thinks that I'm weird. He's bloody weird as well. Have you ever met a normal artist? These stand-up comedians that I've heard interviewed over the years, eventually it comes out that they're nuts. They've got issues. They've got problems. It always comes out. Always. Anyway, there might be more to this. I hope I've included it as much as I could. I've probably left things out, but maybe that just gives you a bit of something to think about and something to look into.